Hello, and welcome to Rocket Fuel, your daily update of everything that's happening in the Rocket Pool community. My name is Wack. Today is June 24th, and today's episode is going to cover a whole lot of news about the voting stuff that's going on, node operator delegation, and how the new voting system is being set up. We're going to be talking about the tokenomics a whole lot, and we're going to talk about some marriages that are happening in the community. So let's get started.
10, 9, ignition sequence start, 6.
So first of all, we've got this update from Mav here. It says, hey everyone, and this is a protocol update. He says the next community call is starting in a few hours. So 3 hours from when I'm recording it, around 5 p.m. Eastern time, I think. Let me actually just make sure. Yeah, 5 p.m. Eastern time. And this is where we're discussing listed bi-weekly and sharing updates about the progress towards on-chain governance. And that is, then there's a link there to the Medium article that we're going to have a look at, and this event here. So community call with bi-weekly update, and that is Ken will be hosting Langers for the first post-Houston community call to discuss the latest bi-weekly updates and share updates about the progress towards on-chain governance. So hopefully we'll be getting some nice announcements there about whale marriages happening with the team. Hopefully. I have no insider knowledge, of course, so I don't know. That's just some speculation. Okay, so let's have a look at the bi-weekly update then. So thanks Mav for putting this together. So the ETH supply declined 0.4%, so it's now at 504,000, and there's decline over 11%. And I think that we are actually hopefully getting very close to the low on this cycle for the ETH supply. I'm really hoping that either we've hit it now or in the next few weeks we'll have hit it, but I'm really quite hopeful of that. And then we've got the pending active minipool count that declined 1.1%, annualized rate of 28%, and that's gone down 23,658. And node operator count, of course, this is a number that can only go up because it only counts node registrations. It doesn't count removals of nodes. There's no such thing as removing a node, and that is annualized growth of 8%. So I'm really hoping that we can get that number to 4,000 by the end of the year, maybe even higher, hopefully. With the smart node stack, then with the smart node we had version 1.13.3, and then 1.13.4, and then 1.13.5, which was the final. That's the one that happened after. So the later version fixed the bug by adding a missing reference to an Atlas contract to fetch past events, and then there were like small bugs that got caught basically with the fallback clients. With R&D, Houston is of course live on mainnet. You can watch the ETH staker call, and there was a belated Q2 roadmap update that was shared. With governance, Tokenomics rework explainer was shared, and then ask for feedback. We're going to be talking about that a little bit more. And then feedback, community is asking for feedback on Rocket Lend, which has been slow coming, so please give feedback on Rocket Lend whether you would use it or not. Then there was discussion about the protocol DAO Security Council, and feedback was requested on sentiment polls about 3 proposed Saturn RPIPs. Those are the ones that Noshua started. And then discussion restarted an old thread about a roadmap and strategy committee. Feedback was requested on proposed notification system. The GMC put out a request to write definitions in support of the bounty program. And GMC round 14 is open on the forum, and the latest PDAO treasury report was shared, and the discussion and feedback sought regarding the rewards tree distribution. Then with integration, new DEX now supports RPL, and ETH was added as high collateral. With media marketing, there was a surge of interest in Rocket Pool on Twitter X following price action. The Rocket Pool intern has been hard at work sourcing and sharing the latest news. And you can click on the link for the intern to follow them on Twitter. X. Media coverage included pieces from Unchained, and then we had Jasper and Langers talking about the Houston opportunities with the latest community call. Kane came on Rocket Fuel and talked about Houston and Saturn upgrades. Ken spoke with Hieroglyphs. DeFi, RPL DeFi update was available. And then we also had liquid stakers Numa can enjoy additional stakers from Arbitrum. Silo Finance, exchange listing on KCEX official. And also Arbitrum, RPL was listed on the prediction platform, and that's Oriole Insights. And then if you will need to get the Starknet airdrop. I think there's a deadline, and I'm not sure exactly when that was. I thought that had passed, but it seems like maybe it hasn't passed yet. So Mav, thank you for that bi-weekly update. Let's get to the Rocket Pool community now, and we will be talking about node operator delegation. So on Friday's episode, I did cover this post from Langers. We're saying, in preparation for the migration from the new protocol voting system, make sure that your delegate information is correct on the page. And they were just like making sure that, everything got set up properly before the vote happened. It seems like there were some errors. So Val was one of the first to check, and it says there's an error on my delegates page. It's showing this address instead of my actual address. Noshua said, I don't own this address, but he said, I also don't understand. The requirements on the address is simply registering as a node sufficient. I also expect the address shown for Jasper to be incorrect. Also Mentor as well, if I recall correctly. So there were already some issues coming up with people on the delegates page where the information that, it showed that their node address was actually incorrect. And then, there was Ramana here said that my node address is incorrect as well, and there was a whole bunch of back and forth about what the purpose of this is, why is it happening. Nick explained that at the moment the voting is node only, and Halooo replied by saying, I want to say that this should be a priority. Many delegates are not running nodes or would prefer to use the same hardware wallet they use for Snapshot. This is a fairly large group of non-smart node users is another side of this. Now that people are asked to provide their on-chain delegation address, it would be nice to at least know whether there is intent to implement this or not, because it influences the decision on which address to use considerably. And then there was some back and forth. Val asked for advice. He says, is it possible to vote using the contract? He says, I don't think all node users are disenfranchised as an acceptable option, either for directly voting or especially as a large delegate. I do feel a significant responsibility to represent folks that have delegated my direction. He said, that said, Ramana, please be respectful and positive. Comments like blah, blah, blah are cutting and unproductive. So I don't know. I think those comments are about the specs. Okay. And then there was some more back and forth about, addresses, Patches' address was wrong. And then there were others here as well. But then Nick got involved in the discussion. He says, thank you, I'll update the site with your requested addresses. He says, Houston just went live. All nodes are third party. We'll give them some time to make the necessary changes on their end. If they don't, I'm sure we can just build it into the UI. And then Val says the web UI path seems more usable long term. The GMC is funding 2 all-node-like platforms, so we could probably want either a web user interface or a small guide for devs on how to implement. For now, we're talking with all nodes about how to support. And then there's Nick says, I'm 99% sure Langers is talking to them. I'm not involved in that conversation, so I'm unaware of the progress. And then there was more discussion about being a node address and not. And then Langers got involved. I'm skipping over some of the conversations, so you're welcome to go and read all of that if you want. There's quite an active discussion. But Langers got involved. He said, I believe it's known that delegates should be node operators. We have never really directly supported non-operator delegates because there are many reasons why having operator delegates is beneficial. Operator delegates have skin in the game. They best represent node operators if they are node operators themselves. We avoid the professional delegate scenario and misaligned actors. That said, it's never officially been determined that only operators can be delegates, and there has always been a workaround in place to allow non-operator delegates. Although as a delegate personally, I feel you should show you have skin in the game. We acknowledge the scenario that people may not want to dox their node. We could directly support voting via web front end, but that would obviously mean we are officially supporting non-operator delegates. He said, Langers says, as Nick said, the account technically just needs to be a registered node. We'll make sure that delegates are correct before publishing the voting instructions to the community. If necessary, we will support voting via a web front end. And then Noshua says, I don't believe the PDAO ever opined on requirements for being a delegate. My personal opinion is that people with vote power know best who is able to represent them and who they want to delegate to. And Val says, I think not doxing a node is extremely reasonable. I don't think something like this keeps away professional delegates to a relevant degree. A single LEB4 run via all nodes could suffice. For example, he says, I think it can make sense to delegate to other folks. It's possible to show alignment and be part of the community in other ways. For example, one could be active as an RETH holder and use RETH in DeFi, or simply advocate for Rocket Pool. And he says at the end, if we're changing requirements in practice, I think we should go through a vote. It sounds like a web with sounds like a web interface and delegates spinning up empty nodes if needed, and then we wouldn't be changing anything in practice. And then there was a mistake with my node as well, so I just let them know about that. Okay, so that's where that kind of conversation took us. And there's a whole lot to kind of digest in there, so I'm going to see if it makes an impact to the article that was supposed to come out about voting delegates and setting up all your votes properly. But that's definitely something to pay attention to. Okay, next we are coming up to some soft deadlines for tokenomics, discussions that are coming up, and one of those is July 1st. So we're going through a last round of asking for people for feedback, asking for people for questions that they might have. So one of the things that I'm doing is putting out a whole lot of questions that are going to get covered on a special episode of Rocket Fuel, where Val and Samus and maybe Long for Wisdom will be answering those questions. So I said, do you have any questions about new tokenomics? You can ask them here. Please put them here, and then maybe there'll be a pot for people who ask questions. And we got questions from Nixo, the ETHmeister, Fornax asked the meta question, and then Edward Wrenchhands as well, RPL.eth, asked the question also. So that was pretty cool. Actually, let me just do this. And those questions, of course, will be answered on the show. If you don't have access to the Discord and aren't planning on making a Discord account just to ask a question, you can go to my Twitter, which you can see on the screen right now. And people are liking this but not asking questions. And then you can also, of course, go to Reddit, where I have also put out this post. And I've also got a question there as well. Also, what I'll do is I'll dig into previous posts that I've made regarding tokenomics like this, and I will put those questions in the show as well. So I think we'll actually end up having like a really nice selection of questions, and they'll be covering like the whole gamut of like the old tokenomics, the new tokenomics, when we can expect them, all that kind of stuff. So definitely keep your eyes open for that episode. I think it's going to be a good one. Okay, talking about tokenomics, we had a proposal from 1KX about what they think the tokenomics work, what new tokenomics should be and how tokenomics should be changed, and they have some differing opinions. So let's have a look. It says, Dear Rocket Pool community, the team at 1KX appreciates the community's enthusiasm for enhancing Rocket Pool's tokenomics and recognizes significant efforts behind the current tokenomics proposal. We would like to suggest a slightly different approach, viewing our proposal not as a replacement but as an extension of the existing one. It says, given the timelines involved, we are attempting to strike a balance between getting the proposal in front of the community as soon as possible, while also providing sufficient detail to allow for an informed comparison. It says, in brief, our primary disagreement with the existing rework proposal is that it prematurely abandons RPL's primary value driver, the RPL collateral requirement for validators. We recognize that the proposed tokenomics reworks contain other benefits, but we believe Houston's new features can be better leveraged to further accelerate our main goal of maximizing our ETH sustainable yield to position Rocket Pool as the most attractive LST in the space. We call this the max ETH strategy. So then they go into introducing the max ETH strategy. And I think these are the main things. So it says, one main reason Rocket Pool is because of its alignment with Ethereum core values. However, this merited gravitation towards decentralization can only attract so much TVL, and the average user's preferences are often driven by three realities: high yields, deep liquidity, and DeFi utility. Since we believe that a former leads to the latter. 2, our primary goal is to maximize our ETH sustainable APY as the single most important attribute for any LST. So they said that they will have these are the way that they will do it: dynamic global commission, RPL delegation, and bonding curves adoption. So they kind of explain how it all goes together. So I'm not going to go into the full details of it. You can definitely read through the whole thing yourselves. But they've put together a really detailed proposal that they think enhances instead of replaces. And yeah, I'll let you all read that to come up with your own ideas about this. We have this, they have optimize the deposit queue for access to our ETH APY, and then they have RPL collateral for node operators as well. And then they want to introduce protocol owned yield as part of the surplus share. And then they've got some ideas for RPIPs as well. And the concluding thoughts, they say the Max ETH initiative intends to increase our ETH's yield, making the most desirable liquid staking protocol in the market. Meanwhile, we also aim to preserve the RPL collateral requirement, address the deposit queue buildup, and accelerate TVL growth, all of which are key to Rocket Pool's future success. We believe that by modifying the existing rework to take full advantage of the Houston upgrades, one of the most exciting in the protocol's history, we can create the most exciting liquid staking product on the market. We appreciate your engagement and consideration of our post. We look forward to the community's feedback and collaboration on refining and enhancing the current RPIPs. Your input is invaluable in shaping our collective future. And then they said that they have an investment portfolio that includes Rocket Pool's tokens, and they have a disclaimer as well about this post and what its intentions are. So we got a reply from Paladin who says, thanks for the detailed proposal. It's going to take a while to understand this in aggregate, but I share things that stood out to me. So he says removing the ETH only validators. He says this is one of the main things in the current proposals. And then gut reaction is from potential node operator, and ETH only node is significantly lower hurdle than entering an RPL delegated market to attract RPL. And then obvious centralization force. They said that this would favor larger entities and hurt home stakers because they're the ones that would have the most performance, and then they would attract the RPL and ETH in marriages. And then Burning Question says, I appreciate your disclosure that you're investing in the project. To me, this proposal feels like a effort to limit any downside risk to RPL, though retaining fixed collateral instead of ETH only, or rather than an attempt to maximize the growth of the protocol. Not sure you can best address that concern impression, but I wanted to share it. And then with the dynamic stuff, he said, like the introduction of existing functions in DeFi to set some of the system parameters, etc. Valdorf had a response as well. He said, I don't think this idea is close to functional at this time, and then gives a bunch of feedback of why Val believes that's the case, and addresses things like the deposit pool being full, and then the dynamics that come in with that. And then it says basically how that's going to impact. He says, as the deposit pool gets fuller, RPL gets more revenue. Why? A full deposit pool means high RETH demand, which requires supply. RPL doesn't provide that. This is when the deposit pool gets very full, node operator share rapidly increases, blah, blah, blah. And then there's a whole bunch of things there. He says, this is the biggest issue. There's an attempt to create incentives in a way that warps the market. I've spent not even 10 minutes thinking of issues and came up with 3 separate perverse incentives. I think anything that enmeshes incentives will suffer this way. So there's some feedback from Val there as well. So, I guess the community is going to take all this on board and put it together, and we'll see what happens with that. Okay, so Houston happened, and we got some news of matrimonial bliss coming out of the Rocket Pool community. So here we got this Rocket Watch notification about RPL stake, and it said that this snail wallet staked 2,860 RPL worth just over 19 ETH, and this person was Halooo.eth, which is really cool. And the story here is that there's this validator from Los Angeles, and they have 6 LEB8s, and now they also have nearly 2,000 RPL that they're trying to get staked here. 2,800 RPL, and this is actually a marriage between, well, actually, I'll not spoil the spoiler, but Halooo basically got married to snow cones, and this is what's happened here. So Halooo got married, and it was with snow cones, and Patches got the vote. I think that might have to be changed, but yeah, this is really, really cool. And yeah, the primary withdrawal address is Snow Safe, and the RPL withdrawal address is Halooo Safe. So they're doing a Houston marriage with no fee splitter, so it's just a straight up marriage. There's no rocket split type contract there that gives either ETH fee or a RPL fee. And Snow says we're being watched. Well, everything is being watched. So this is really cool. Yeah, and they didn't tell trading about the wedding beforehand, but it's pretty cool that this is how it's happening. So congratulations to Halooo and Snow, which I think this is the first Houston marriage that's taken place. So that's wonderful to see. There's news of other marriage here from lovepoints. So lovepoints, for those who've been watching Rocket Fuel for a while, has been trying to get married for a while, but couldn't find anyone to get married to. And a couple of people said that they might consider it after Houston. Well, lovepoints is back saying that I'm looking for interest in an RPL ETH marriage. And the idea is that, lovepoints will bring the ETH and want someone else to bring the RPL. It says, I'm still interested in partnering with someone who has RPL with my ETH. I'm looking for 50 to 200 mini pools. I would like to get ETH rewards and you get RPL rewards. I'm open to more generous terms if you have enough RPL. I've already done a successful rocket split with Ramana and I'm looking to scale up. So that's pretty cool. And some sneaky ninja guy says, somebody marry this man. He's been desperate to getting married for a while. And basically the idea is that the person would need at least 20,000 RPL, which is a fair chunk of RPL, but it's definitely there are people out there in the community who have that much. So if you are interested in getting married to lovepoints and you've got 20,000 plus RPL lying around, Houston will let you do that now. So reach out to lovepoints, reach out to me. I'm happy to help get this facilitated if you are interested. Okay, and then showing more of the event notifications here, we have one about mini pool creation, and this one is, the address is a shrimp with a party with dancing with a masculine symbol and then another party symbol.eth. So it's an emoji address, but the main thing to look at over here is that this validator was created for $6.50 in transaction fees. So this might be one of the cheapest validators ever created on Rocket Pool, and that's actually really, really cool to see. So I think it's like a week's worth of staking rewards will cover all the gas costs for this validator, maybe even less actually, just attestation rewards. I think you're getting around $1 or $2 a day, something like that, I think. So that is actually really nice for this person. So congratulations. I think it's pretty obvious that it's Ramana, because Ramana's always the one who wants to get the cheap validators. So gas actually went down to 1 GUI, I think, over the weekend, and that's where Ramana was able to strike. So congratulations. Okay, moving on to some client updates here. We have some news out of Nethermind. So Nethermind have been teasing this big upgrade 1.27, and they have been kind of sharing these ideas about how much they are allowing the EVM performance to increase with this, with like mega gas throughput. And this is a major release now, and this is major highlights. This release brings 159 performance improvements and critical bug fixes to the Nethermind client, significantly enhancing its efficiency and reliability, and a continuation of big block processing improvements. So then they've got information about how much gas increase they're allowing, and then they've got intra block cache as well, and there's a change log if you want to have a look. But this upgrade, actually people really loved it. So even on Reddit, here we have Howrog saying the Nethermind released their latest version a few days ago. I just installed it and wow, is this thing fast. In the last few hours before the upgrade, my block throughput was 98 megagas per second. After the upgrade, it does 324 megagas per second. It perfectly matches what they teased a few weeks ago, and they really did their tests with consumer hardware, as my NUC perfectly matches their published results. The Nethermind team really delivers. It says this means faster block imports for your node, less GPU demand, and more importantly, few head misses if you run the validator. All in all, this is a great update. It says I've not heard of any issues with it and it runs smoothly on my machine. It's probably safe to install. And then there's an edit saying I did more analysis on my block throughput. It really increased by over a factor of 3x on average. What also happened though is that the standard deviation increased as well by a factor of 4 from 27 megagas to 100 megagas per second. The standard deviation is a measure of the variation in block throughput, blah, blah, blah. It says I interpret this that optimizations does not speed up all the block imports by the same amount. For example, some block imports can be sped up by a factor of 4, whereas others can only be sped up by a factor of 2. This leads to a higher spread in the block throughput and therefore higher standard deviation. What this means is that rollups using Nethermind cannot just increase their block sizes by a factor of 3 now, as the higher variation would sometimes delay the block import too much to build the next block on top of it. All in all, still an amazing efficiency increase in normal upgrade, even though the increase of the average block throughput only tells half the story. So that was a really nice write-up from Halooo there, which I really appreciated. And then we've got another update here this is from Teku, and it says this is an optional upgrade up to version 24.6.1. It's only applicable for users who experience a failure on startup. So if you are one of those users, then you really should upgrade. But for everyone else, you're all good. It's an optional upgrade if you want it. Yeah. And then we also have an update from Nimbus here. So a whole lot of client teams are busy over the last few days. And this is Nimbus 24.6.0. And this is a low urgency release with performance and safety improvements. So there's some improvements here with things, and there's a small fix as well. So if you're using Nimbus, you can update that as well. Of course, you can wait for the next version of the smart node to be released. That will have all these upgrades in there. But if you want to update manually, check out the upgrade website, and it teaches you how to upgrade your execution, consensus, and MEV boost clients if you choose to. Okay, next we're going back to the Rocket Pool Discord here, and we've got an announcement from Rudes, and Rudes says, morning all, for anyone in the New York area or willing to travel on August 9th and 10th, I'd like to invite you all to a Rocket Pool meetup. On Friday the 9th, I've reserved space with Pub Key, a Bitcoin bar in Washington Square. The back area is all set up for talks with an audience, and the front is the bar, looking for people to do some talks. And on Saturday the 10th, I'll host a barbecue at my home on Long Island. RSVPs are here, and there's a link to the forum. So let's go and have a look, see what it says there. It's a little bit more detail about the banquet room of the pub, and it has a stage, excellent setting to talk, all things Ethereum and Rocket Pool. It's known as a Bitcoin bar and frequently visited by the Bloomberg staff. I had a great time when I was there last, even as an ETH builder. And it says if anyone would like to give a presentation, come along. And it says on Saturday the 10th, we can keep the party going with a pool and barbecue party at my home on Long Island. I'll share these locations separately. You can always reach me on Discord at rudes.eth. And so far only one person is planning to attend, and that is Patches. And Patches says that they'd like to give a talk. So yeah, this is really cool. If you are interested in this, I met Rudes in Denver, and Rudes is a cool guy. So I'm actually maybe tempted to fly into New York for this. I'm not sure if I'll come for the whole weekend, but it might be something that I'm willing to consider if many other people turn up as well. Okay, moving on to some staking news now. We've got news of this Gravita and NodeSet vault that has gone live on Stakewise. So as you can see, this went live on the 10th, and there was enough ETH for one validator in there at the time. However, over the weekend, that has shot up now to go up to 283 ETH, and that is now 9 validators that they've set up. So you can see over here that actions were called to get stake going, and here are the validator keys, and you can see the details of the validators here as well. And then NodeSet guys actually put out a post saying that the first deposit data for the Gravita vault is uploaded. Congrats to the lucky 9 folk who got a validator assigned. There will be plenty more to come, so don't worry if you didn't get one this time. GravETH hasn't even been announced officially yet. So if you're listening to this, you're getting in really, really early. GravETH, of course, will be the Gravita ETH token that they will be pushing. yeah, it's a really exciting time for these guys. So if you want to follow along with that story, you can join the NodeSet Discord. I think there's some talk about it happening in the Gravita Discord and elsewhere. Okay, moving on to some other LST news now. So here we got this post from Token Terminal saying GTO, which is JTO token, is close to overtaking Solana, Sol in fees on their blockchain. And then Millie said with 3 GWE gas, this is actually also happening with Lido and ETH right now. So let's have a look at the details here. So Lido, in a given 24-hour period, earned nearly $3 million. That's, with their ST ETH commission, that 10% that they earn, and how that's divided out and stuff. And then in the same time period, Ethereum earned $1.77 million. So this just tells you that, Lido, because the gas price is so low, Lido keeps making money in the staking rewards, but Ethereum makes money in fees, which is of course up and down. Millie here said that Lido's business model is actually dead simple and predictable. Probably the purest ETH beta play, because ETH number go up equals Lido TVL increase, and Lido makes money on its assets under management. It says it's more nuanced than that, but that's basically true. And then Rocket Tool is stepping up. He says the purest ETH play if you love centralizing forces, go RETH and Rocket Pool if you love Ethereum, but leave Lido to the Walmart simps. Love Rocket Tool. And that actually got more likes than Millie's post, so that's kind of funny. But yeah, that is definitely something to pay attention to. Like, as the ETH fees revenue generation comes down because gas prices are so low, protocols will routinely be making more money than the base chain, which is actually really interesting. Okay, finally, we're going to end with some ETH ETF news, with the idea that the S1s will be approved this week, maybe next week, hopefully. So Eric Balcuna says the Van Eck is in, and so is their fee, which will be 0.2%, which is pretty darn low, right around Franklin 0.19%. So it adds a touch of pressure on BlackRock to stay under 30 bips at least. So far, it looks like ETH is going to be as low or even lower fees than BTC. So you can see that the data is starting to come in, and they're actually going to be really, really cheap. And then Evan says it'll be interesting and potentially impactful if the ETH, that's Grayscale E, fee comes in below 0.5%, because that's where the outflows might be mitigated. Now, what happened with Bitcoin there was they kept their fees really high. The ETFs happened and they lost a whole lot of TVL. And the idea was, would you rather have more fees from a smaller pie, or a bigger pie but smaller fees? And their CEO got fired pretty much, I think, or left. So I think the Grayscale board wanted a bigger pie with fewer fees, maybe. So if that's what happens with Ethereum, with their conversion of their trust to an ETF, and they reduce their fees down to 0.5%, that might stop one of the big areas of FUD that was out there about ETH, the asset, about there being huge outflows of the Grayscale ETF being sold onto the market. So that's going to be very, very interesting to see over the next couple of days once we get that information out of Grayscale. And finally, Bitwise, of course, are on their blitz with their media blitz, and they've released a third ad that came out today, and this one is about Ethereum being available to settle almost instantly, like 12-second settlement. Well, epochs and stuff that counts in there, but you get a transaction through in 12 seconds, and it's settled, fully settled in 2 epochs, which is about 13 minutes. Now here we have Big Finance, and they're taking a sweet time to settle, which is going to take 24 hours. And they give an example of, sending money for a house clearing, and how that's going to take 24 hours for the wire to go through. So, Ethereum's fast, nimble, exciting, and Big Finance is slow and, yeah, lead-footed and just bad. So I think there's one more ad that we can expect from Bitwise in the coming days, but it seems like the crypto community has really liked these ads coming out of Bitwise, and I think they've done a good job with them. So keep up the good work. Anyway, on that note, I'm going to end today's episode. So thank you all for watching, listening, and being part of the Rocket Fuel community. I hope you all had lovely weekends. We've actually got some big tokenomics stuff coming this week, so definitely keep your eyes open for that. And I'll see you all soon. Bye.